This is Audible.
Dreamscape presents Faked by Carla Sorensen. Narrated by Cindy Kay and Connor Crace. Chapter 1. Claire. I didn't always have a crush on Finn Davis. There were about 10 minutes there, back in 7th grade when he showed up, that he really pissed me off. Not because of anything he did, per se. Because he's always been the same guy. Quiet and observant when he was in public. A knife-sharp sense of humor and playful personality when he was with people who knew him the best. No. Finn was the recipient of my 13-year-old rage for those 10 minutes because he was the reason I hated being a twin for the first time in my life. Leah and I were identical. Teachers and fellow students often confused us if they didn't know us well. On that day in 7th grade, when the principal brought Finn into our classroom, Leah and I met him at the same time. But there was something about her, some energy buzzing at an undetectable level that drew his attention and made him feel comfortable. They'd been best friends ever since. And I hated that I looked like her, exactly like her, and was still different enough that the sweet, shy new boy in class, the one with a cute smile and long legs, didn't look twice at me. I didn't think about that day much anymore. It was 8 years ago, and Finn was such a fixture in our family that my crush had lessened to a low-lying simmer. Barely detectable unless you held your hand directly over the heat. But then I opened stupid Facebook and saw a picture of him and his stupid, "I'm going to be a doctor someday and don't I look good in blue" scrubs, and I felt my heart die all the deaths from how cute he looked. So now I couldn't stop thinking about the day he appeared. Couldn't stop thinking about him. Which is why I avoided my sister by locking myself in my room to study. I was so afraid that after all the years of locking up the butterflies that wanted to flutter through my veins at the sight of him, she'd take one look at me and know. It worked, too, for a while. When I felt my fingers burn with the urge to pull up the picture again and stare at his smile, at his dimples, and pretend I'd be a great doctor's wife someday, I pulled up the one thing on social media guaranteed to stop any sort of heart flutters. I searched for social media updates from our mother, Brooke, which was even more pathetic than my crush on Finn. Crossing my arms on the surface of my desk, I dropped my forehead down, banging it a couple of times for good measure. That was how I was sitting when my bedroom door burst open. "What's your problem?" Leah asked. "Nothing." I kept my head right where it was. Leah leaned over me, dumped her shit on my desk, and pulled my laptop out from underneath my forearm so she could see it. Honestly, nothing was sacred when you lived with your twin. Except my crush on her best friend. "Oh," she said meaningfully. "What? Did your neck break? Are you incapable of moving?" "I'm comfortable." She chomped on something loudly. Carrots. Or celery. When she swallowed, she spoke again. "Cyberstalking Brooke again?" Instead of answering, because I didn't particularly want to lie, I grunted. "Didn't we decide she was in India?" With a sigh, I stared at the wood grain on my desk and tried not to think too hard about how easily we could discuss the fact that the woman who gave birth to us was Lord knows where in the world. And we didn't even really care anymore that we didn't know where. The sound of a clicking mouse preceded a thoughtful hum from my twin sister. "Nope. Someone tagged her in, a concert in Germany. She's on the move, I guess." "Oh, good." Leah sighed loudly. "Have fun with that." With 2 patronizing pats on the back, she left me alone again. When I heard cupboards slamming in our postage stamp-sized kitchen, I lifted my head. "Chicken shit," I whispered to myself, like she'd somehow be able to see my picture of Finn and Scrub's feelings stamped on my face. This was what happened when my feelings couldn't be muted by my brain. They were louder than I wanted, and I hid them less successfully. Turning my laptop back to me, I drummed my fingers along the edge, trying to decide what to work on next. The paper for my early childhood intervention strategies class was in desperate need of revisions. But even one of my last classes before I graduated with my bachelor's in developmental psychology wasn't enough of a distraction. But I knew what was, which was why it had been my default in the first place. Searching the internet for glimpses of your mother brought about strange emotional reactions. Unless you'd experienced those reactions, it was hard to put them into words. Occasionally, we'd get a postcard from her with an updated address, or a captionless picture would show up on the usually quiet Facebook account she still had access to. Those tiny snippets were the only way my sisters and I knew where Brooke was currently spending her days. Not that we ever sent postcards back, or reached out to her. She'd lost that privilege years ago. Even though I knew it wouldn't actually make me feel better or even distract me much from Finn, I found myself scrolling down her page. My heart and my head warred mightily when I studied the last few pictures she'd posted. I wasn't furious at the thought of her. It was hard to be when we had such a happy life in her absence. But I didn't feel nothing either. Sometimes I wanted to punch her. Sometimes I wanted to hug her. Most of all, I wanted to sit across from Brooke Ashley Huntington Ward and pick apart her brain. That was the most desperate feeling of them all, fighting for first place in my head. I wanted to understand why. And it drove me abso-freaking-lutely batshit crazy that I might never have that understanding. As I scrolled through, counting 5 pictures posted in the past 3 years, my twin sister's phone lit up on the desk next to me where it was charging. My eyes cut to the screen, a force of habit because it was often a group text from one of our other sisters or Paige. It wasn't from any of them, though. What appeared was a text from Finn, and like I'd trained my body to do it, my heart sped up at the sight of his stupid name. Finn. Leah, please, I'll owe you a million favors if you help me out. I'll help you, I mumbled miserably. It didn't even matter what he needed help with. I'd do it. But I didn't close my eyes because picturing my twin sister's best friend was another thing that made my head and heart war mightily. And every single time, my head won. Leave him alone. It would be too weird. He doesn't even look at you that way. Those were all the things I told myself when my crush on Finn flared out of control. And it had helped for years. It had helped all day. Text from Finn, I yelled. What does he want? Leah called from the kitchen. I swallowed heavily as I read the text again. Help! He'll owe you a million favors, Leah groaned. He could offer 2 million and I still wouldn't be able to do it. What does he need your help with? Some fancy pants dinner and award ceremony on Friday night? He needs a +1, and since he refuses to find himself a date, his mom practically demanded that I go with. I think she actually put my name on the guest list because she assumed I wouldn't say no. My heart clenched with unwelcome jealousy. It's just dinner. Why not go? I can't. There's this amazing guest lecture that same